He's talked to me intently about all the visits he's had with all the teams, so I know where he wants to go. If it's New York, it's New York. If it's Tennessee, if it's Cleveland, if it's still the Raiders, if it's New Orleans, if it's any of those teams that are seeking a quarterback, I'm happy with it because I know what he's going to do to the organization. I know what he's going to do. The Cleveland Browns hold the second pick in the draft. They are in need of a quarterback. So can the Browns afford to pass on Shedeur Sanders, Peter?
Yeah, I think they can. If they don't look at Shedeur and see him as the quarterback of their future, they don't want to just add a player to fill a need. If they look at Shedeur and they say, well, we actually have some other needs, and there's Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, I think that they can pass on him. I go back to a old adage at the draft: do not shop hungry. Don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry. Because when you go to the grocery store when you're hungry, you start just getting things that you might not necessarily think you're going to need once you actually fulfill your appetite. I don't know if they would regret passing on Shedeur Sanders. Do they regret passing on so many quarterbacks in the past? Probably. But the truth of the matter is, if he's not their guy, there are two other really talented players who will be available. You know, last night, Adam Schefter reported this morning, the Browns brass met with Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter's not going to work out at his pro day. He was coming off the injury that we learned about at the combine. Like, if you look at Abdul Carter and you say you've got Abdul Carter on one end and you've got Myles Garrett on the other end, and we think we can win games with Kenny Pickett, and maybe we can get a Kirk Cousins in a trade, or maybe we can draft someone in the second round that we really like. If you don't fall in love with Shedeur Sanders, you do not have to draft Shedeur Sanders. I will tell you this. The Commanders last year, all while everyone was talking about Caleb Williams and the Bears, the Commanders fell in love with Jaden Daniels. The New England Patriots, while everyone was talking about Caleb and was talking about Jaden, the New England Patriots were not settling on Drake May. They fell in love with Drake May. If the Cleveland Browns do not fall in love with Shedeur Sanders and watch the tape and say, this is our guy, I don't think they should just shop hungry. This is not a team that's winning a Super Bowl next year. If you can get Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett on the same defensive line, I don't think that's crazy. I think you could pass on Shedeur. And it has nothing to do about Shedeur. It's about the position and where they are as a franchise.
I like the comparison about shopping hungry. So if you're really hungry and you're not supposed to go shopping, then what do? You're hungry.
You just starve it out.
I don't want to starve it out.
You eat rations.
You eat rations?
You start lighting matches and you just figure it out from there.
Sounds horrible.
Does sound horrible.
All right, because here's
Abdul Carter's tasty too, but he's not necessarily in the dessert aisle. He's a good piece of protein.
He's in the meat aisle.
Yeah.
They got to be pitching shutouts then. Because, all right, so first let's go from a point of like literally who's going to start at quarterback for the Browns week 1, okay? Kenny Pickett is on the roster. Mm-hmm. I guess maybe he started some games. Just some things you threw out, Peter. Kirk Cousins, which is like the wish and a prayer, and Kirk has to want to go there because he has a no trade from Atlanta.
Stefanski.
Okay, maybe fine.
Great relationship.
He's like, we're going to move to Cleveland. Maybe. It's just, I'm saying it's a pipe dream. Maybe. Jackson Dart's going to start week 1 for the. I mean, that's tough. That's tough. It's not great. So it's like they're at that position where I completely agree with you. Sean Payton loved Bo Nix. Like I love this guy.
Would have taken him over any other quarterback.
So if Stefanski doesn't love Shedeur Sanders, of course you shouldn't take him. But they're just in this weird position of what do you do if not? I want to go back to the Deion sound or text from the Skip Bayless show. By the way, Skip, can't you give us the clip? Wait, why are we running a full screen? We'd love to show the clip of you and Deion talking. Why can't we show it? We had this thing. There we go. There's the beautiful full screen with War and Peace written across it. So basically, Deion's insisting, hey, this storyline about like we're going to pull an Eli, it's nonsense. Wherever he goes, we'll be happy. I really like this, and I believe this, and I like it specifically for Shedeur because, as has often happened too much to this dude, too much of his dad's legacy gets put on him. All right? Understand that Deion, when he was in Shedeur's position, was in his dorm room at Florida State creating the character of primetime. Deion was a corner in the 80s. He was not on the internet. He was not on social media. He was trying to develop hype for himself. He was high-stepping. He was telling teams, don't bother, I'm not going to draft you. That is not Shedeur. Shedeur, despite his upbringing, and Deion, Shedeur incredibly is like a blue-collar player. I also would say in his journey here, if you're talking about him going to someplace like Cleveland that's not high-profile or sexy, Jackson State is not high profile or sexy. Colorado is not high profile or sexy. This has not been the case for this guy. He has gone a lot of times on his back on the field to different stops that are really akin more to toughness and work. And I know what Deion is most proud of Shedeur is that he's a worker and he is mentally and physically tough. So we were all titillated by this idea that, oh my God, we're going to get an Eli and it's so fun and he's going to stiff arm one of these teams. He's not. You don't go to Jackson State in Colorado and then say you're not going to go to Cleveland. They may not want to take him, but if they do, Shedeur is going to put that hat on. He's going to hold that jersey up. He's probably going to get his ass kicked rookie year because they have all the defense. But I like the fact that we're past that now. Is someone going to stiff him? Because Deion can't say that and then his kid does it. We're a month out.
Well, Kyle, first off, to answer the conversation that you and Peter were having in regards to what do you do when you're hungry, right, and you don't have anything to go get. My mom used to tell me, go to sleep. Yeah. Go to sleep.
Oh,
go to sleep. If you're hungry, just go to sleep. But
I need a snack.
Speaking in regards
drink of water.
Exactly. Drink some water. Put some water on it. Speaking in regards to the Cleveland Browns, can they afford to pass on Shedeur Sanders? My answer would be no. And the reason being is because they don't have enough at the quarterback position. We all know the situation with Deshaun Watson. All right, they gave him $230 million guaranteed. He went out there, it didn't go great. Then he got injured. And then during rehab, he re-tore his Achilles. So the probability of him playing this year is slim to none. So what do? They go out there, they trade away our guest from yesterday, Dorian Thompson, all right, and they go ahead and they give up a fifth-round pick. So now you lost a fifth-round pick. You have Kenny Pickett on your depth chart, and that is it, right? So you're going to bring in some guys for camp. You're going to bring in some guys that can go ahead and throw the ball around. But in terms of depth, you don't have any depth at the quarterback position. When you look at trying to rebuild an organization, there is no better quarterback in this year's draft to build an organization around and who has experience to build up organizations that are not doing well than Shedeur Sanders. It's just on his resume. He was at Jackson State, and what did he do? He built that program up, took them from nothing, made them something. He did the recruiting, he played well, all those things, and got them in a winning situation. Then him and his dad go to, obviously, Colorado. And I know you brought this up. I don't know who he is without his dad. It's cool. We're going to find out. He built up Colorado from a non-winning organization and built them up to where they're respectable. So in terms of somebody who has the body of work, Shedeur Sanders is that guy. And on top of that, all you have in Cleveland is Kenny Pickett. And I'm not sure that you feel 100% confident in him being your QB1.
You know who else was in Cleveland yesterday? A quarterback by the name of Kirk Cousins set the internet ablaze there with a sighting at Chipotle in suburban Cleveland. Hey, Kyle, we couldn't get the picture of him cleared, but trust me, he was at Chipotle in the Cleveland suburbs. This is what he had to say about it, so he confirmed it. He had his Chipotle order there. Obviously, he is, again, and Isaiah, we've talked about it a lot this week off camera. Like, Kirk Cousins is out there lurking. Obviously, that would have to be a trade because he's not a free agent. He's 36 years old. But there is a veteran sitting out there that was visiting a Chipotle in Cleveland, which we have been told is not NFL related, but he was there. And there's sort of this idea that this guy is lurking. So, do you grab Abdul Carter at 2, which is, I think that's who's really hard to pass up at 2, knowing in the background, and maybe that was the Myles Garrett smirk, that they're going to get you this veteran quarterback with a lot of experience. $27.5 million, that is what he is owed this upcoming season. But what we do know is that he was out and about. The order was too quick. I can't repeat what his order was. I'm not sure, Peter. But he was ordering
salad with double chicken.
Salad with double chicken. There you go. That's what we got for you. Insider take.
I love this, and I do have a thought on like that decision to take 2 bookend defensive ends, and my brain works in a way where it just like brings up old drafts and stuff. The Houston Texans, and I want to say it was a 2014 draft, they had already on the roster J.J. Watt, who was the multi-time defensive player of the year, and then Jadeveon Clowney came out of the draft, and Clowney was in the same draft as Manziel. And a lot of people were like, take Johnny Manziel, you get your quarterback. And they just took the best player on the board. And whether you think Jadeveon Clowney has lived up to expectations or not, he's in his early 30s, had a decorated career. He's not going to the Hall of Fame, but he was a good NFL player, and he was a really good Houston Texan before injuries and whatever else took care of that. But I would say that's what this is akin to almost. But I'm not comparing Johnny to Shedeur. Johnny was a Heisman Trophy winner, don't get me wrong, but the pro prospects on Shedeur are a higher ceiling, and it does seem like that Shedeur is looked at as a franchise lifter in a lot of ways, so I don't think that's the same comparison.
No team spent more money in free agency than the New England Patriots, just over $300 million. This leads us into a round of buy-in or keep trying. Here we go, guys. In terms of going from missing the playoffs last season to making a playoff run this year, a la the Commanders last season, it's the Patriots that are best positioned to pull this off. So here's how we're going to phrase this. The Patriots will be this year's Commanders. Peter, buy-in or keep trying?
I think I'm buying, and I'm buying because of the spending spree they had, but I'm also buying because of the growth of Drake May. I think Drake May had an incredible season last year despite not having the weapons with him. Now, Stephon Diggs, actually, I think it's a no-brainer for them. 1 year, if he's healthy, great. If he's not, it's 1 year, and they had the money anyway. But I look at it more at like what they did on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to be in these games. I'm buying it. I believe in Vrabel, but I really believe in Drake May. And I don't know if he could be this year's Commanders with a Pro Bowl quarterback already in-house. Maybe that's my issue with the verbiage of this segment, but I do think they're going to take a giant leap. And I think they got a lot better than the Jets did this offseason, who added Justin Fields, but I don't see what else the Jets added. The Patriots actually added a formidable defense and then added a ton of different talent at different key positions.
I agree with you, Peter. I'm going to buy it as well. And since we're talking about gift cards, I'm going to take my gift card out, scratch off the barcode, and I'm going to swipe that thing.
What do you got?
I'm going to go ahead and buy on this because I just think that Mike Vrabel knows who he is and he knows who he wants this organization to be. And when you talk about who he is and you talk about his past in the Tennessee Titans and how he was able to establish an identity and a culture for that team, he has already done so with what he's done with this roster with the New England Patriots. This defense is going to be formidable. They're going to be solid. They're going to be big. They're going to be physical on the outsides and the trenches. And now you see him turning around and trying to do it on the offensive side of the ball. He went out and got Mac Hollins, who's a Mr. Do-It-All, physical, right? Doesn't care about life, walking barefoot. He went out there and got Stephon Diggs, who's out there, who's a heck of a competitor. So you see this identity really brewing. And I feel like if they can add some more pieces in the draft, they're going to be a team that you have to wreck with.
I'm going to say keep trying just because I want to talk about a different one.
Yeah.
I think the Patriots will have their act together too. But this topic and what we call in GMFB vernacular has huge potential for big font, which is when we say something and then the wonderful people at the social media offices for our network and media group just blast it out there. And I'll screw it. I'm just going to go a crow hop here. I think next year's Commanders are going to be the Raiders. Screw it.
Okay,
Bam. There it is. We got a new coach. We got a famous new owner. We got Geno, who's a really good player, underrated. We have the number 6 pick in the draft. We don't have any videotape because I just did this from the hip. This is how spontaneous you know this is. I didn't give it to the producer before the segment, so we will see nothing, Peter.
The social media people are on it, though, so don't worry. They'll have
all over it. Let's get it nice and neat. You can say the Broncos. I like the Broncos, of course. The Chiefs, the Chargers, they're all there. How about that brain trust right there? Peter, what make you think of?
I like Spy Tech. I like Carroll. I love Mark Davis, but I also love Chip Kelly.
You love Chip Kelly. Wait, running the offense, it's kind of like 2003's best coaching staff you could put together if you're a cynic. I don't care. I like it. They brought Pete there to be an adult, to have a semblance of control and order. And if they went on a run this year with Tom Brady smiling up from, I guess, the announcer's booth, but also the owner's box, I don't know. I'd like to see the Raiders do it. It'd be really fun.
I think the difference for me here is I think the Patriots are going to be really good, but when we say are they going to be the Commanders, I don't think at this time last year we were saying that the Commanders are going to be there, and I think a lot of people, there's the difference. I think a lot of people are expecting a lot of things out of the Patriots. I mean, you were talking about Isaiah earlier this week, just what Vrabel does and what they're doing to this defense and how it's just his attitude and that sort of aggressiveness that we expect them to take over. So is that going to be a surprise? I mean, the Commanders went on a run that was just, we didn't know what Jaden Daniels was going to be, and I think that's obviously what made them so special. If you look at, and we've talked about how much money they've spent. Take a look at the additions that they have, and every time it's a new signing. Stephon Diggs is huge news. You look at some of these names, and so I feel like it's not that they're not going to be good. I just don't think it's going to be a surprise run. I think we sort of expect that when you spend that kind of money, when you have Mike Vrabel in place, when you have Drake May coming off the season I don't think that there's all I believe is that it's just they're not the surprise team in that manner. So I would say buy-in the sense that they're going to be good, but is anyone going to be, halfway through the season when they're rolling, go, I didn't see that coming. I think people see that coming. Here's the first question I'm asking you guys. What is that question? What are we doing here? Let's go. Up first, here we go. The hat of the team that you think has a trick up their sleeve in the 2025 NFL draft. That is question number one, cap number one. Peter, go.
All right, Peter.
A potential trick up their sleeve.
What about Tennessee? Do you want that one? They have the number one pick. No, you don't want that one?
This isn't necessarily what everyone's got. Can you see this hat here? Let's go over to the single.
That appears to have a fleur-de-lis.
This is the Saints hat. We don't talk much about the Saints. We don't. They don't have a top 5 pick.
Keep talking.
They seem to have a quarterback in Derek Carr that they're paying a lot of money, and they're set. But I look at that roster, and I look at guys like Cam Jordan, friend of the show. Look at guys like Demario Davis, friend of the show. I look at guys like Alvin Kamara. This is not a team that is getting younger. It's a team that's missed the playoffs the last several seasons and is consistently getting older and still has these Is it time to go and get your quarterback and start building for
You've been
a
on this,
future?
Peter.
I just don't. What is the plan? Derek Carr for the next, how many years? You have a top 10 pick, a 9 pick. Do you go ahead and do you say, let's trade up and let's be the ones that get Shedeur Sanders? Or let's trade up and let's be the ones that go and give everything and try to get Cam Ward? I don't know, but I would say this. This is a team we don't talk about. I don't think they love that. Super Bowl was in New Orleans. They didn't even have coach hired at the time, so there wasn't any interviews going on with the team. And it's for the last 10 years, it's been Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, and then since Sean Payton left, it's just been kind of blah. Go get yourself a young quarterback. Go get yourself Shedeur. And
Put yourself Shedeur.
And hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey.
And put New Orleans back on the map. And one of these teams that we talk about on Good Morning Football and all these other programs, Saints, 9th pick, make a move. Why not?
All right, so I've been spending your entire
I'm like, where's he
I'm really
going?
sorry, because I can't find the hat. First of all, I counted there's 28 hats. This is an interesting statement on our show and on NFL media in general.
Quite symbolic.
I can't find the Cowboys anywhere here. I'm looking, and they're not on the table. They're not on the table, Isaiah Stanback. I was prepared to say to the Cowboys fans, this is going to be so fun. They're going to make a move. They're going to maybe trade into the top 10. There is not a star hat on the table.
Do you know what I think?
Yes.
I think in the studio that we're here,
stole it.
the Cowboys are such a famous team.
Yes.
The Cowboys are such an American team that someone who works in this building actually saw the Cowboys hat. I was like, oh, free hats. I'm going to take one. So they are still popular. Someone wanted that hat.
I can counter that theory. I think there's a saboteur in our midst. I think someone's like, enough with the Cowboys all the time. Throw that one away.
I don't want to see it on the show.
I don't want to see it on the show. Not I want the hat. Listen, I do believe at some point, finally, you have to make a bold move. You never really do it in free agency. You didn't do it with your head coaching hire, and the boldest move that Jerry made was in Landman, all right? This is going to be now something where at some point we do have to say, all right, that was a bold move to try to win the East this year, to try to do this year. I floated it yesterday, my wild theory that they're going to fall in love with Ashton Jeanty and do something maybe fiscally irresponsible to go and get him, because they don't have the pick. The Cowboys are outside the top 10. They'd have to go and get him. I would love to see something, even if it's reckless, even if it is irresponsible. I would like bold, and I can't believe I'm asking for that from the landman, but I am. We don't even have a hat here. That's how flat everything's been lately.
The NFL, 28 of 32 teams.
That's right.
I do believe they have something up their sleeve. I was actually talking about it earlier off camera about how they've created so much cap space, right? And all that cap space, you need about $16 million to handle your draft, right? Just your draft that comes in, right? All those guys. But they have over $50-some million in cap space, if I remember correctly. All that's not for the draft and Micah Parsons. So something is coming, Kyle. I definitely agree with you. However,
Isaiah, you work for the Cowboys on their broadcast. Do you know something we don't? Can you give us a little bit more enlightenment? Have you spoken to people there? Can you break a little news?
I get the sense that they're not done yet. That's what I do. That's all I can say. I'm gonna rock with. I'm gonna go with the Orange Crew. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm going with the Denver Broncos is because when I think about who their head coach is, Sean Payton, he is not one that just wants to sit by and watch everybody else do their thing. He's not one just to be mediocre. He is probably one of the most competitive coaches that we know of in this league. He wants to go get it. And finishing last year at 10-7, having a good year with Bo Nix and adding Evan Ingram in the offseason, that is not going to push them over the edge to go knock out the rest of the guys in their division. They need to go after the Kansas City Chiefs. They need to take care of the Chargers. So I believe that they are going to do something in this draft that gives him a little bit more oomph to go ahead and compete and take the crown in the AFC West.
Yeah. Back to what you said about the Cowboys. I'm just kidding, Isaiah. I think Peter and I both were
I like that.
Wait a minute here. Yeah, there's something going on. All right, here's the next one. Get your caps ready. Or Kyle, don't get your cap ready. I don't know what you got out there. Yesterday was redemption on this show, or it was a redemption show. I don't know that it was redemption for Isaiah, except maybe for today. He ended up going 0-2 and named that face yesterday. Not today, obviously. Nailed it today.
100%.
Grab the hat of the team or the player that you think is going to get their redemption in 2025. Peter.
Okay. No one's talking about these guys. I feel like we all were like, we fled from that hype train. It was big last summer. Everyone's like, wow, Tua's finally getting paid. Tyreek, Waddle, they got to the playoffs last year. You're talking about a team that was completely irrelevant over the final month of the season, but quietly was winning games once Tua got back on the field. I think the Dolphins have a chance to get right back into that upper echelon. They still have these young players that are coming back from injury. When you're talking about Phillips on defense and, of course, Tua on offense, this team is still good and still young. And just because their season last year didn't go as planned doesn't mean they're tearing the whole thing up. I believe that they're going to have a redemption year as long as they stay healthy and can get back on the field. The Miami Dolphins, my team, that's a little bit of redemption.
I want to stay in that division, and I don't even need to get up from my hat this time. Now, I'm going to hold up this hat, but I'm going to make it more specific. I'm not just going to talk about the New England Patriots. I'm going to talk about the newest New England Patriot. Stephon Diggs. It says team or player that will redeem themselves. Fact is, we do a segment here called Not New Jersey where we collect and curate bizarre jerseys from different times and great players in the last team and random things we've forgotten about. Stephon Diggs, Houston Texans, is a not New Jersey. That is a very strange jersey in which he was there for 1 year, got hurt, made a bad look at Josh Allen, maybe, and then it was gone. And now, not only is he gone from the Texans, he's going back to the AFC East. He will go into Buffalo this year as a member of the rival Patriots. And I think he'll be ready. He was a great Buffalo Bill, no matter what you think about what ended. I think he will be a very good Patriot. I saw Mike Vrabel talking to our guy Chris Long on his podcast yesterday about not only how productive he's been, he's like, I like his style. I like the way he plays. He's tough. He's got the dog, whatever he wants to say. That's all the guys that Vrabel's bringing in. Tough guys and veterans and guys who have been there. Listen, am I drafting Diggs in the second round next year in fantasy? No, I don't give a damn. But I think he will produce professional receiver wherever he goes. He's got that kind of Brandon Cooks quality to him, I think. Everywhere Brandon Cooks goes, he puts up numbers. I think Diggs will put up numbers this year, including the game he goes to Buffalo at least once next year.
Can we get a tight shot of Kyle one more time? Kyle, does that hat fit? Is that the look or is the hat?
Yeah. Basically, this segment has just become a vehicle to make jokes about the size of my cranium, which is astronomical. I'm like a 7 7/8 hat. And I've got a fresh haircut, too. So I have it on 2 dots right now, and it's cutting right into my forehead. If I took it up, watch, I bet there's a line there. Look, see?
You can't put it in the last.
Oh, look at that. I look like Peyton Manning when he takes his Broncos helmet off. It sucks. So, Isaiah, take it away. Everybody's gotten their pound of flesh about my big head. Go ahead.
It's not Stubblefield yet, okay? You're not 49er Stubblefield putting it on top of the head. You're not there yet.
Thank God for that.
Peter, we've been working together for 5 straight days, so we are now thinking along the same wavelengths because the Miami Dolphins were my number one. I had a feeling that was going to happen. So my backup plan is just, as you guys mentioned, the team that I just happen to work for, the Dallas Cowboys. Redemption story.
Okay.
You got to remember, okay, they have the highest paid quarterback in the league. What's his name? Dakota Prescott. Okay, Dakota Prescott just happened to literally tear his hamstring off the bone last year, and that completely derailed the rest of this season. These guys have lost a handful of guys that were very important to this team, both players and coaches, but I believe that they have done an extreme amount of work to make sure that the heart and soul of this team, which is the offensive line and the defensive line, are are both going to be solid. They went ahead and stole a coach from the Jets, who was the best D-line coach in the league. They went ahead and stole the best O-line coach. Their trenches are going to be solid. I can't believe that they're going to go into this season without making sure that Dak Prescott has the redemption that he needs, and it can't be on the sole back of CeeDee Lamb. I think they have some things up their sleeve. I think they're going to go out there and get a prominent number 2 receiver, and I think they're going to be aggressive, not only running the ball, but putting the ball in the air. And in order to do so, they got to make sure that Dak Prescott has weapons.
It brings to mind when you're talking about a quarterback having redemption. I'm going to jump in here. Can you give me that Jags hat? I want to go Trevor Lawrence, a player that is looking for redemption, could be getting redemption. They hope that Liam Cohen is the answer to potentially get him some redemption. I don't know if this will. Oh, yeah, it does.
Oh, she's just showing off now.
There you go. Looks good on you, Sarah.
Nice. Little blue. Look, I spent a lot of time with Liam Cohen down there in Tampa and saw what he did to that offense. And Trevor, I mean, we know the Trevor story came out with a lot of hype. He's Trevor Lawrence. He's incredible. And then there was that incredible Jaguars run, right? And Trevor was behind it. And I think when you've seen that Jaguars team fall off, Trevor's dealt with injuries. And so now you go in and Liam's clearly the guy, right? Peter, you know this very, very well, that they went after, that this was the guy that was going to solve the Trevor Lawrence and make him the quarterback that they really believe him to be. They have not given up on him. They gave him a monster contract. So this has to be the year for Trevor. I think it will be. I think Liam's going to do great things with him. Brian Thomas Jr. coming off an incredible rookie season, set records for that franchise. So redemption story, you'd go Dak Prescott in the quarterback. Aaron and I would go Trevor Lawrence and see if that he can get this Jaguars team back on track.
In the pre-draft buildup, Travis Hunter says, I want to do that in the NFL. Make no bones. Quote, I want to play 100%, both ways. They say nobody has ever done it the way I do it, but I tell them I'm just different. I am a different person. He better be, because it would be not only incredibly impressive, in the modern NFL, really unprecedented, incredibly rare at best. Now, for today's time, for the sake of this segment, we're just going to tip the cap to the two-way OGs from yesteryear. Sammy Baugh, Don Hudson, Ace Parker, the last 60-minute man, Chuck Bednarik, all different in a different era. However, in the modern era, we start with a very, very few select people. In 1981, St. Louis Cardinal Roy Green played both ways.
Awesome.
He had over 700 yards receiving on offense and 3 interceptions as a safety for the St. Louis Cardinals. Eventually, they said, Roy, you're too good. We got to move you to wide receiver. He went full-time to wide receiver, ended up leading the league in receiving yards in 1984. You see him catching the ball. Now watch. Theismann's going to throw over the middle, intercepted. Roy Green did it well. But the only player since then to do it with any consistency is Travis Hunter's coach, Deion Sanders. Now, after making cameos on offense earlier in his Cowboys run, Prime started on offense and defense 8 games in the 96 season. It was such a task for Deion that he decided to skip baseball that year, and for the first time in his football career, he attended minicamp to learn the playbook. He was a full-time wide receiver and corner for about half the season, and in fact, in many versions of NFL Blitz, the Dallas Cowboys starting wide receiver is Deion Sanders, number 21. So he made cameos, and then he said, I'm going to try this full-time, and it was fairly short-lived, 8 games. Now, you might think, all right, Travis Hunter, the comp's got to be Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson won the Heisman Trophy. He did it by playing primarily corner, but also some receiver and some special teams at Michigan. So he goes to the Raiders, and Charles did play some wideout for the Raiders. Very little. There he is catching a hitch route on the outside wearing number 24. Charles only caught 2 passes his entire career.
Good play, though.
Really good play. Looks the part. Some of what Charles was up against was he joined the Raiders and had 2 Hall of Fame wide receivers on his team at the time. So when you have Brown and Rice, do you really need a young player who's so good at corner? Let's just keep him there. You might be saying, how about Champ Bailey? Absolutely. Champ Bailey gave it a shot, too. In 2000, Champ started 1 game at wide receiver and at cornerback. He had 3 catches for 78 yards.
Really?
Yes, in his career. But then he never really did it much again. Some of this was cameo stuff. He goes in against the Chiefs. In that same game, he was guarding Tony Gonzalez. Here they get him the ball. He's such a good athlete. There's a species of that they're so good we have to try to get him the ball some way. But as true wide receiver, he only had 3 catches. Another guy who's like, he's so amazing, we have to put him on offense. Cromartie. Yeah. Antonio Cromartie started a game. You know him as a corner. He started 1 game versus the Jaguars. Here's his only catch of his career. Mark Sanchez, Cromartie, -2 yards.
Yeah.
That was his one catch as wide receiver, but he gave it a shot. Now, you might also remember Troy Brown, Julian Edelman, during different stages of the Belichick and Brady dynasty, they would come on there, but they were doing it more because of injuries and needed help, and some of the Belichick magic was that he had these talented, versatile players, and they did play well, but they weren't true starters at defensive back like Travis Hunter would be. Then we get to these guys.
Yeah,
more recently, Ricard Roberts and Matlock have played both ways, including Matlock extensively last season. They're playing D-line, they're playing fullback, and it's huge respect, and it's really impressive. That's not what Travis Hunter is trying to do. He's trying to be out in space, wide receiver, cornerback at the same time. So now we get to Travis Hunter, and we wrap it up here. The opinions from the people who matter at the top of the draft are all over the map. Browns general manager Andrew Berry said he views Hunter as a wide receiver first, but that he can also make his impact at corner. Titans head coach Brian Khalen said Hunter would probably start at corner, and then you find ways to inject him as the offense as he gets more comfortable. Completely polar opposites. As a fan of the game, as someone who does this, I want this to work. I want him to see him play over 100 snaps at starting wide receiver, starting cornerback. He's the rare guy who might be able to do it, and I do mean rare because as we just saw, some of the most talented players in this league ever have done it only in spot duty. I think this guy could be the difference. So is Travis Hunter Devontae Smith? Or is he Derek Stingley Jr.? For me, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And we are thrilled to have two-time Super Bowl champion, Saints defensive tackle Khalen Saunders, who is in town for the Glad Media Awards tonight.
Thank you.
Has so much to be excited about, including some new coaching hires there in New Orleans. They hired Kellen Moore as their head coach, former Chargers head coach Brandon Staley, your defensive coordinator. Tell me about the changes happening now in New Orleans and how you feel about them.
Oh, yeah, I feel great. I feel great about it. I was obviously alluding earlier in the show that, we have all the pieces that we need to be a successful team. And so I think that, getting Coach Kellen Moore and Coach Brandon Staley in, with Kellen coming from a Super Bowl team, Coach Staley is notorious for taking defenses and making them, elite. So I think that we have every piece that we need to be a great team and a contender in this NFC. And, I'm excited to get started and get back to work and, see what we can make of it.
I love this. I love hearing this. You're getting us excited. Just a little bit about you, Colin. Can we just bring up Colin's shot for a sec? Colin, just where are you from, and do you have a favorite baseball team?
So I'm actually from Mississippi. No, I'm just like, oh man, born and raised St. Louis, man. St. Louis, USA. As they say, there is no Missouri. There's only St. Louis. And
my man,
of course, I gotta rock the Cards, man. It's history in there, and then always bleeding red. So, just gotta make sure everybody knows that this is the best city in the world.
Okay.
I love hearing it. I love the Midwest. I love that it's opening day and you got your Cards out there too. But I don't love any of those things as much as I loved last season, you getting your first career interception versus your former team.
Absolutely.
Take us through this play because it's majestic.
It's majestic. Yeah, so, being on the goal line, I'm watching the ball come out. I'm just pursuing the ball, I'm just pursuing the ball, man, just trying to be a good football player. And then, Juju, he kind of caught the back half of it. Debo hit him and kind of got it hovering in the air, and it kind of looked like GTA, like when something just floating above the ground, you got to go pick it up.
Yes.
So I just ran over it. I don't even remember catching it. I just ran over it, and it acquired in my inventory somehow. And then I just start running. Like there is no kneel at that point. My momentum probably would have made me fall on the one or something if I tried to kneel. So I was like, I'd rather just stay up anyway. And then this is my opportunity, man. Like, I'm trying to show I tote the rock.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
This is what I do. I made a living of that before I got to where I actually, made a living playing football. So, I just wanted to show it. And then also my dad was there, and that's literally been his dream since I ever first played my first snap in the NFL was to have me run a ball because I played running back growing up and stuff like that. And he played quarterback as well. So we used to go to the park and he'd throw me routes and stuff. And then I ended up being like 250 pounds one day. And he was like, I don't know if you're gonna be playing skill position anymore. So then I kind of transitioned more to straight defensive tackle. But yeah, that was one of the moments where I was like, this is what I've been waiting for, man. I got to take it. So
One hand snag. I'm not mad at you.
Right. So, but yeah, no, that was a fun play.
Did you see the one that Michael Pierce had for the Ravens a couple of weeks later where, like, he did slide? I was like, I love the big men. It's like he was trying to be so artful. What do you think of Pierce's?
First of all, Michael Pierce is my hero. He's been my hero for a long time before that. But that was hilarious. Like, I'm not going to lie. And I respect it. I respect it because he saw that green in front of him. And, I mean, with all due respect, the game was won. After the interception. So he was like, I call that a vet move right there. We're not going to pull nothing. We're not going to do nothing stupid. We're just going to get this game won. And so shout out to Big Pierce for that one. But that was legendary in the big guy community for sure.
Yeah. And he just announced his retirement, leaving you as one of the few big men who can run there like that left in the game. I'll say this, though. As much as that was impressive, on the play before that interception, you shut down a certain tight end named Travis Kelce. Now, your brother Cameron might be well known amongst a different group of fans, or maybe the Venn diagram shaded in and we all are fans, the Swifties, because he's one of Taylor Swift's dancers. What? Did you get a little heat from him on that play that you shut down Kelce?
No, not at all. Not at all. He if anything, he was happy for it. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I joked about before the game ever started, they were like, oh, who's he going to cheer for? I'm like, what you mean we going to cheer for? Like, I bought the ticket, didn't I? You know what I'm saying? So he, he was happy about it. But, I actually got a chance to holler at Kelce after that. And, he was like, good hit.
Oh, my God.
That's the thing. I'm always I'm a big team guy. I love all my teammates wherever team I'm at. I'm a big locker room guy and make a lot of friends when I go to teams. But, they know me and they know my heart, but they also know that I'm going to compete and, I'm going to be a competitor first and foremost. And so, he was just like, good hit, man, good play. And even I think Pat, you can kind of see after that play directly, Pat was like, hey, good play, Bink. So, it's all love there. We're going to compete and get after each other when we can.
It is awesome how much you love your brother. We were talking about it for a while and how proud you are of him because he's famous. He's famous. And I said, when did you know he's famous? You said you looked at his Instagram account, so how many people follow your brother? And you were like, whoa, this is it.
Yeah.
You are speaking tonight on behalf of the NFL's ongoing partnership with GLAAD. You're actually going to be speaking at the Media Awards tonight about your ongoing allyship for the LGBTQ community. Yeah. What does being an ally mean to you?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I feel like being an ally is more than just saying that I support, but it's also kind of showing up. Obviously being in the NFL is very, male dominant and heterosexual dominant, and it's not really, feels as if there's not really a space for the LGBTQ community, but with just working with organizations like with the GLAAD Media Awards and also the NFL Pride Football Combine or football clinic that they had during the Super Bowl week, I was actually able to go out there and kind of get to talk to some of the people that were participating in it. And it was great conversations. These are people who feel, like they have to be hidden, although they might love the sport. They might love the NFL, might love football in general as a sport, but, they kind of shy away from it just because of orientations or, all of these other kind of outside things. And that's kind of why, that's kind of my goal. And I actually started up an organization, my foundation, Original Element Foundation. And that's kind of my pillars is just inclusivity, bringing everybody together with through the power of football. And, kind of one of my events that I hold every year with that organization is to my football combine, where I'm going to be actually having one of the first LGBTQ friendly football combine camp type of things, just day of play in general, just to get kids out and active. So, that's my goal, is just to, continue to spread positive energy around that. And, because, I mean, football is for everybody, you know what I mean? And football is for all. I think that we're getting closer to that in general as a society, but I'm just trying to do my part, to forward that.
That's awesome. And Colin, I have a high regard for anybody that holds their mom down. Right, and you brought moms in the studio, right? You brought your mom, Miss Kim, is in the studio. Not only did she come, she came decked out. Can we get a one shot on Miss Kim over here in the corner? Moms is over here.
All right,
yeah, give it up for Mom. She is over there swagged out. I love everything about it. Now, Miss Kim, I have to ask you. Now, when the Eras Tour came to New Orleans, all right, you not only held down your son Khalen with the jersey on, but you were out there repping for your son Cam as well. How does it feel to have both of your sons holding it down in their respective territories?
Well, it feels great, first off. And the funny thing about it is I think they're both overachievers. So it's good to have two overachieving sons that compete to take care of their mom as well. They overachieve in that as well. So that's exciting. But let me tell you, when I look back over time and, they're little kids and things like that, I thought they would do wonderful things. But my hope and dream was just for them to be, productive, good people in society, but to do it doing the things they love to do. So no matter what it is that they chose to do, whether it was football or dance or whatever, they could have been a violin, underwater, football, whatever. I would have supported it. And so for them to go out and not just to do what they love to do, but do it and achieve it in such a high level. And when we have conversations at home and things like that, sometimes when we're talking, we talk about how that's amazing, but sometimes people look at it like, ooh, that's out the norm. But it should be the norm. It should be where kids are told that, hey, you can do it. I'm sure they're told that, but then support it and let them know. Nobody asks people like, oh, he wants to be a dancer, he wants to be a football player. What are their backup plans? That's all I used to hear. What are their backup plans? I was like, do you ask doctors, like, if you don't make a doctor, you're going to be a shoe salesman? I mean, nobody does that. So I'm always like, yeah, let's make sure that they know they're supported and that they going to do well. So that's that part. And New Orleans, that outfit, I knew as soon as they announced that Taylor was going to go to New Orleans, I said, I don't care if I never go to any concert. Nice. I have to go to that. That jersey, I wanted to represent Kellen with the jersey, but I had to also bring in some bling and fancy things for dance. And so I thought that would be the best combination. And I put that together. Don't let Cameron tell you.
Yeah, Mom.
You killed that.
Yeah.
Did you cry at that show?
I cried at everything.
Colin told me he cries at all shows.
I cried at that show. I cried at everything. I cried when they went to the first Super Bowl. I had the ugliest cry. They were holding me up like I was about to faint when they was doing the national anthem. I was, And I cried at that. I cried when Cameron did Taylor Swift, the very first show, because you have to remember, my son had just run the last Super Bowl in Arizona in February, and then I turned around in March and went to see Cameron perform in that same stadium doing his thing. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And the lady behind me, she kept giving me tissues. And she was like, you really like Taylor, huh? And I was like, I do like Taylor. But there's another story to it. And, but yeah, and so to have them both together, my worlds colliding like that with Cameron, would be up there dancing, and then Khalen, would play there for the Saints. It was just amazing. Sometimes I honestly have to pinch myself, and I know it sounds like a cliche, but I really do have to pinch myself sometimes to recognize that this is really my life. And these are really my boys.
That's awesome. I don't know if you're going to get emotional there on me, Colin. Colin told me he's an emotional guy. It's incredible. Thank you guys both so much for coming by. And I know, Colin, you said you just want to be positive energy. We can see where that positive energy it stems from. We can see it in your brother on the stage. We see it in you, but it all stems from the lady sitting in the studio with us, Kim, who looks awesome today. So thank you, family, for dropping by. You guys are awesome, and we will see you out on the field sooner than everybody thinks, right? New Orleans.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Just to try to hit you, the viewers at home, about remember how incredible this player has been. Forget the headlines. Forget the money. Remember the ball.
Let's go.
So we present to you, without further ado, Myles Garrett's top 10 plays of his career. Let's jump into the tape.
Prescott back, looking. He gets hit as he throws, and he gets knocked down, and there he is, the kid from Arlington, Texas. Myles Garrett gets right in and drills him around the waist and knocks him down.
And that also
Beautiful move as he spun around that rookie Terrence Steele, and Prescott couldn't get that ball out, and Myles drops him for a loss. Here's Henne in the back of the line. Henne took a low snap. Back to pass. Pulls it down again. Henne got sacked. Myles Garrett got it back at the 35-yard line. Henne was ready to throw and then reloaded. When he did, Myles Garrett got him.
just what the doctor ordered.
On second down, Mayfield out of a shotgun. Takes the snap. Drops. Looks right side. Oh, he got buried. Myles Garrett buried him back at the 26-yard line. Man, even I cringed watching that.
That took about a second and a half for him to turn the corner and get Baker Mayfield down. Myles Garrett, just unbelievable.
Mayfield back to pass. Pressure coming again. He's up in the pocket. They got him. Loose ball. Ball on the ground. Another big hit by the Browns rushers.
Minshew from his end zone. Here comes Garrett. Football's loose. Who's got it? Cleveland. It's still loose. No signal yet. Touchdown. Tony Fields as Myles Garrett just keeps on coming. This guy's just on a different level.
Different level. From the Browns 37. Burrow to throw. Here comes Garrett. There it is. Myles Garrett. Welcome to the 100 Club. He takes down Joe Burrow. 100 career sacks for the future Hall of Famer.
And how fitting, Joe Burrow, man, he has harassed throughout his career. 13 sacks now against the Bengals. Myles Garrett, the first to get to 100 sacks before his 29th birthday. Unbelievable.
Fields to pass, back in the pocket, up in the pocket. Myles Garrett got him around the horn. He came, gets up and waves to the crowd. And he's going down again. Malik Jackson hit him. Myles Garrett finished him off. He's being chased again. Myles Garrett's got him by the feet, and he got him. He tripped him up. Snap back, he's got it. Here comes Koromoa. Here comes Garrett. They got him again. Myles Garrett, 4.5 sacks on the afternoon. What a performance.
Burrow and the Bengals trying to convert. Burrow. Tossed down. Myles Garrett gets home.
Where are you going to go? As soon as Joe Burrow's looking, he's on his horse because the pressure's there. And Myles Garrett is the one who gets home. One of the top sack guys in the league.
From 57 yards away. From 57, it's blocked. Myles Garrett.
Wow!
And it's taken back all the way. What a turn of events.
Myles Garrett right there, middle of the screen, busts through the line, gets that big paw, blocks the field goal. Wow.
Huntley takes the shotgun snap, back to pass. Left, the ball got stripped away. In the air, the Browns fight for the ball, and it's picked up by Myles Garrett. He's going to score! Touchdown! Myles Garrett hit the ball. It bounded around. He picked it up, and then he ran the last 15 yards with it for a touchdown.
Metcalf is blocked. That's a live football. It's picked up Denzel Ward.
How athletic is this guy? Just 285 pounds, and he's just going to leap right over, doesn't touch anybody, perfectly legal.
That just doesn't make sense.
Some things in life make sense. That is not one of them.